My name is Alex, and my story starts in a small village outside of Texas. I grew up in a fatherless home as my dad passed away when I was only 3 years old. I have an older brother who is 2 years my senior. My mom was the head of our household and owned a bakery. At first, she did all the baking herself, but as her business began to grow, she hired more bakers and additional staff. During a challenging period, we faced financial struggles due to our mother's unsuccessful business. Despite numerous expenses and a lack of support, our father's career as a teacher provided little financial assistance after his passing. However, our mother persevered and lifted us out of those difficult circumstances. Her determination to provide us with the best education and opportunities for success never wavered. My brother was an exemplary child, obediently following our mother's guidance. He achieved flawless grades and willingly assisted our mother during his breaks from school. Conversely, I was the mischievous one at home, consistently defying instructions. Due to my peculiar behavior, I was often criticized by the villagers and struggled to stay out of trouble. My short temper led me into multiple altercations at school, causing great concern for my mother. Despite these challenges, I managed to graduate high school. However, I never pursued higher education. With only a small sum of money, I departed from my village and ventured to California in pursuit of a better life. The harsh reality of the world quickly became apparent. It's an unforgiving place that lacks the care and concern of a mother. Instead, it revels in the pain and struggles of its inhabitants. Despite these difficulties, I secured a part-time sales position at a nearby store. The compensation was insufficient to afford more than 2 meals a day. I shared an apartment with a fellow employee from the store, but it was clear that this arrangement was not enough to achieve my goals. Recalling my past interest in doodling, the idea of pursuing a career in tattoo artistry came to mind. While en route to work, I stumbled upon a tattoo and piercing shop and decided to enter the premises. After inquiring about potential training opportunities, the owner agreed to mentor me in exchange for payment. Although the fee was more than I could afford at the time, I was eager to seize the opportunity. To finance my tattoo apprenticeship, I started working overtime at the store. The first few weeks of training were incredibly informative, and I discovered a newfound passion for this art form. The shop owner was impressed with my progress and offered me a job as one of his employees. While continuing to work as a salesman, I accepted the offer. After 2 years of hard work, I had accumulated enough savings to establish my own tattoo shop. This was a momentous occasion and marked a significant accomplishment in my life. Filled with pride, I immediately called my mother to share the news. "Alex, I'm thrilled to see that you're pursuing your passion," my mother exclaimed. "Just remember to remain true and honest to yourself. That's the only advice I'll ever give you." 10 days into running my tattoo shop, a woman entered. As I gazed upon her, I felt something stir within me. She moved with a graceful fluidity, akin to that of an angel. Dressed in a blue frock and black leather boots, she had short brown hair and captivating brown eyes. My eyes fixated on her stunning figure as she gracefully approached the counter. She presented a picture of a butterfly that she wished to have tattooed above her shoulder. I inquired about her prior tattoo experience, and she revealed that this would be her first. Without hesitation, I began working on the butterfly tattoo, and when it was complete, she stood up and walked over to the mirror. "Wow, it's perfect," she exclaimed. "I'm thrilled that you like it," I replied with a smile. As she prepared to depart, I responded with a smile and bid her farewell. Following the payment transaction, I mustered the courage to request her name and phone number, to which she kindly obliged. "My name is Rose, and here's my number," she stated as she scribbled it down on a piece of paper and handed it to me. That night, after closing the shop, I held my phone in my hand and hesitated for a moment before finally mustering the courage to text her. "Hi, Rose. This is Alex from the tattoo shop," I typed out. With a glimmer of hope, I asked if she would like to grab coffee together. After 20 minutes, my phone beeped, and I eagerly checked the message. It was from Rose, who had agreed to meet me the following day at Sally's Diner at 5 p.m. I couldn't help but smile at the message as my heart skipped a beat. There was something about her that had captivated me from the moment I met her. I could hardly sleep that night, eagerly anticipating our coffee date the next day. Despite taking a bit longer than usual to get ready, I went to work as planned. It took me 3 shirt changes before finally deciding on a black shirt and blue jeans. At 5 o'clock, I handed the keys to my sole employee and requested that he close up shop in the event that I didn't return on time. I was secretly hoping that I wouldn't return at all if my date went well. I strolled over to Sally's Diner, which was only a block away from my shop, anticipating Rose's arrival. After taking a seat at a table for 2, I perused the menu while waiting for Rose. At 5:15, she arrived wearing a peach t-shirt and light blue jeans, her hair flowing freely. I wondered if she would look just as lovely with her hair tied back in a ponytail. As she approached the table, I snapped out of my thoughts and stood up to greet her, shaking her outstretched hand. "Hello, Alex, I'm sorry I'm late. I got stuck in traffic," she apologized. "No worries at all. Please have a seat," I replied. As she settled into her seat, I followed suit. "Did you close your shop for the evening?" she asked. "No, I left an employee in charge. He'll take care of things while I'm away," I answered. The waiter approached our table, ready to take our order. Rose requested a latte and a sandwich. I decided on a strawberry shake and a croissant for my order. "Not a fan of coffee?" Rose asked. "No, not really. I actually hate it," I admitted. "You could have told me that yesterday," Rose pointed out. "Well, I didn't want to change our perfect plan. I was just happy to meet you wherever it was," I flirted. "So what do you do?" I asked. "I work at the bank as an accountant. People think it's a really boring job," she replied. Rose savored her latte and spoke up. "I love my job." I nodded in agreement and added, "Choosing a job you love is essential. Otherwise, it can feel like a burden." "So why did you become a tattoo artist?" Rose asked. "It wasn't exactly my lifelong dream," I admitted. It's difficult to picture a child saying they want to be a tattoo artist when they grow up. However, I made that decision about 2 years ago when I stumbled upon a tattoo shop. Although I've always had a fascination for drawing and doodling, I never thought of pursuing it as a career. "Do you enjoy being a tattoo artist?" asked Rose. "Absolutely," she replied. "I meet new people every day, and it's like I get to know a part of these strangers that others don't." As a tattoo artist, I often wonder why my clients want a particular design permanently inked on their body. What is the story behind it? Although I never ask them directly, I make my own interpretations of their tattoos in my head. I noticed Rose was listening to me intently, her eyes reacting to everything I said. She appeared to be an excellent listener. "What did you interpret from my tattoo?" asked her. I anticipated her next inquiry. "You have a butterfly, which to me represents a sense of delicacy. It could signify your own gentle and compassionate nature, or perhaps that of a loved one who possesses these same traits." I responded truthfully. Rose became emotional, revealing that her mother had the same tattoo on her shoulder. Her mother had recently passed away, and she was one of the most kind-hearted individuals Rose had ever known. I strive to emulate her every day, which is why I chose to get the identical tattoo. "Your interpretation is somewhat accurate, and it brought a smile to my face. My condolences for your loss regarding your mother." Rose acknowledged my sympathies and inquired about my family. I shared details about my mother and brother, and she reciprocated by discussing her own family. As it turns out, she is an only child. After her mother passed away, Rose's father relocated to New York, and she makes a point to visit him every month. By the conclusion of our date, it felt as though we had uncovered a great deal about one another. I was resolved to not let this girl slip away. From the moment I first saw her, I knew she was the one. We parted ways, with me promising to call her again. We continued to meet up on weekends, and this carried on for an entire year. When I was certain that she wouldn't refuse, I finally mustered up the courage to propose to her. We had taken a weekend trip to a field of flowers, and that's where I popped the question. It caught her off guard, but to my delight, she said yes. I was over the moon. 8 months later, we tied the knot. My mother adored Rose as well. She was kind to everyone. Though I desired to have children, Rose never shared my enthusiasm. She wasn't prepared to become a mother just yet, and I didn't want to pressure her into it. After 3 years of marriage, I was eager to begin a family. I approached Rose and inquired as to why she was hesitant to become a mother. Her response was peculiar and concerning. "I'm a terrible person," she exclaimed. "I lack the qualities necessary to be a good mother." With that, she stormed out of the room, leaving me bewildered and at a loss for words. I couldn't fathom why she would say such things about herself, and I struggled to make sense of her reaction. Unfortunately, the discussion didn't lead to any resolution, so I decided to drop the subject and not bring it up again. One day I wasn't feeling well, so I left work early and headed to the local pub for a beer. It was unlike me to take time off like this, but I needed a drink. While sipping my beer, I caught a glimpse of something that shattered me. Through the window, I saw Rose sitting in her boss's lap, kissing him passionately. I couldn't believe my eyes, and it felt as though my soul had left my body. In a state of shock, I pulled out my phone and snapped a photo of Rose and her boss, just in case I needed evidence in the future. My instinct was to confront her boss and pummel him, but I knew I could easily lose control and harm him severely. Instead, I retreated to my shop to try and shake off my anger. Unfortunately, it didn't work. Every inch of my being was consumed with rage, and I couldn't muster the strength to call or return home that night. Rose kept calling, but I couldn't bring myself to answer. Despite Rose's persistent calls, I remained silent and refused to answer or return any of them. All I could think about was getting revenge. I needed to make her suffer in any way possible to find peace within myself. The insult and betrayal she had inflicted upon me was unbearable. I spent the entire night devising plans for my revenge and eventually dozed off without even realizing it. The following day, I knew I had to return home before Rose became too worried. I couldn't risk Rose noticing that something was amiss with me, so I made an effort to act as though everything was normal between us. However, the knowledge of her affair with her boss lingered in the back of my mind, and I couldn't help but think that her job was the reason she enjoyed it so much. No wonder she loves her boring job, I muttered to myself in frustration. As I pressed the doorbell, Rose appeared before me. "Where have you been? What happened to you? I've been trying to reach you. I was so worried," she exclaimed, bombarding me with questions. "I dozed off in the shop," I mumbled. "Are you kidding me?" Rose exclaimed. "I was scared to death here, and you were sleeping in your shop," I retorted. "Would you have preferred me to be in an accident instead of sleeping in my shop?" "Of course not. I'm just surprised because this is out of the ordinary," Rose responded as she approached me for a hug. Despite feeling an intense urge to push her away and smash her head against the wall, I resisted and reciprocated her embrace for as long as she desired. Following breakfast, Rose got ready for work and departed. Meanwhile, I remained in the living room, pondering whether or not she was engaging in a relationship with her employer once again. No, absolutely not. I'm simply taken aback as this has never occurred before. What I witnessed had truly scrambled my thoughts. Rose's birthday was approaching, but unfortunately, before that joyous occasion, I discovered the harsh reality of my wife's infidelity. I had initially planned a delightful surprise for Rose, but that was no longer possible. Later that evening, I brought up the topic to Rose, informing her of her upcoming birthday. I was considering throwing a grand celebration, I revealed. "Oh, really? Who would you like to invite?" she inquired. "I suggested inviting my family, your father, a few friends, some of your colleagues from work, and even your boss." As I mentioned her boss, I noticed a shift in the color of her face. I am familiar with her expressions and how her face changes. Despite this, Rose tried to remain calm and collected. She replied, "Alex, you know I am not one for big parties. Let's keep it small." I was determined not to back down. I believe that everyone deserves a grand birthday celebration. "I've made up my mind," I declared. Rose cheered. "That sounds like a blast." "Absolutely," I agreed. So the next week I organized a birthday bash for Rose. We sent out invitations ahead of time and adorned the garden with twinkling fairy lights, creating a whimsical and enchanting atmosphere. As a birthday present, I had requested Rose's permission to give her a surprise tattoo on the nape of her neck. Initially hesitant, she eventually agreed. On the day of the party, I took her to my shop to ink the design. I instructed her to wait until the end of the night to take a look. I tattooed the word cheater in bold lettering on her neck, and she was thrilled at the prospect of seeing it. I planted a kiss on her cheek and grinned. That evening, Rose wore a backless dress I had gifted her, with her hair pulled up in a bun, revealing the tattoo for all to see. As we arrived home, guests started to trickle in, and the evening was quickly approaching. I led Rose to the living room where I blindfolded her and left her to wait while the guests gathered outside. I had set up a large screen in the garden where I planned to display a slideshow of our pictures as we walked through the garden and greeted our guests. When it was time, I removed Rose's blindfold, and the guests gasped in surprise. As she turned around, they noticed the cheater tattoo on her neck. Without giving her a moment to react, I started the slideshow of photos I had prepared. They were images of Rose and her boss kissing in a pub. The guests gasped in disbelief, with some whispering to each other. Rose stood there stunned, unable to even blink or close her mouth. She had never anticipated this turn of events. I glanced over at her boss, who was making a quick exit from the garden. As he got into his car and drove off, I wasted no time in confronting Rose. I handed her the divorce papers and whispered, "Happy birthday," in her ear before walking away. Rose crumpled to the ground as she caught a glimpse of the cheater tattoo in the mirror's reflection. I didn't look back that day, and it took all of my strength to do so. A few days later, a friend told me that Rose had been fired from her job. Despite her attempts to call me, I refused to respond. Despite numerous voicemails from Rose, I never responded to her attempts at contact. In her final message, she admitted to being a terrible person and recalled my desire for her to become a mother months prior. This was precisely why she didn't want to bring a child into the world. The humiliation and embarrassment she faced were unbearable, and she questioned whether she even deserved that level of humiliation. Ultimately, she decided to leave California forever. I know you won't respond to this message, but I hope you're satisfied with what you've done to me. I wish you all the best in your future endeavors. I played the voicemail repeatedly, savoring every word. My revenge had been successful, and I had obtained the satisfaction I desired.